Hey YouTube, Steve here from Vegas Westside Shooters, doing a video today on does it make sense to reload. And this video, part one of does it make sense to reload, is going to focus on the economics of reloading and also from the perspective of a relatively low volume shooter. So this isn't aimed at the competition shooter or the high volume shooter that's cranking out 500 to 1,000 rounds a week in every range session, or the competition shooters that hand load their own loads that want to craft a specific load. This is more for the guy like me that goes out to the range once a week or so, shoots about 100 to 200 rounds. Does it make sense for me to reload? Well, the first part of the economic equation is the equipment outlay. So you don't just start reloading. You have to have equipment. You need a press. You need a powder measure. You need a scale. You need a few things. And overall, you can certainly get all that equipment together for under $200. In fact, Lee makes an anniversary kit that I want to say is around 150 bucks, and it has pretty much everything you need to do basic hand loading or reloading. I didn't go that route because I wanted to pick my specific equipment, so I bought a Lee press, I bought a perfect powder measure, I bought a little Lyman digital scale, and then I bought the dies, and I pretty much stuck to Lee dies for right now. Lee is the least expensive equipment, and it's the least outlay you can do to get started. If I really get into reloading and hand loading and I load a lot more, I'll probably end up getting some additional equipment, maybe Hornady or RCBS. But for right now, Lee is serving my purposes, and it got me started. The real reason I started reloading was I was having a hell of a time finding 38 Super ammunition. I bought a 38 Super Tanfoglio Witness Elite Limited, which is a beautiful gun that I love shooting, but 38 Super ammo is pretty hard to find. And this particular firearm, it's prohibited in the manual to use plus P ammo. So SIG loads ammo for 38 Super, but it's plus P. And there are a couple other manufacturers that load ammo that you can find in Las Vegas, but they're all plus P, which I'm not able to use in my gun. So I'm stuck with Armscor full metal jacket loads, and I don't have any other option. And I even looked on Midway USA, I looked on cheaperthandirt.com. Nobody seems to have a 38 Super that's not plus P except for the Armscor. So I got all this stuff to hand load 38 Super so that I could load my own loads, vary the powder, different projectiles, etc. So I already bought the equipment. So for me, that's a big leg up on economics because I already had the equipment. If you have to start, you got to factor in that $150 to $200 price differential. And so I'm going to give an example of economics, why it makes sense for me to reload certain rounds. So I'm going to start talking about 44 special. So this is a 44 special round that I just loaded. This is it's a new case. It is loaded with unique powder, 7.2 grains. I'm using a cast lead bullet, which is from Great Lakes Bullets, and then it's a 200 grain bullet, and I'm using a large pistol primer. So from an economic standpoint, the cost of reloading this breaks down as follows. So brass, brand new brass, is 30 cents per piece of brass. The ones I bought, which is Starline, which is high quality brass, but I am planning on using this brass at least 5 times. I'm going to be pretty conservative because I'm starting out, so I'll probably stick with 5. So 30 cents divided by 5 is 6 cents. The primer, it's $5 for 100, so the primer's a nickel. The powder I got, I used Unique. This is Unique powder, and I used 7.2 grains. Unique powder. The bottle cost me a little under, excuse me, a little under $35 for 7,000 grains. So it's around 2 grains per penny. Since I used 7.2 grains, it comes out to about 3.5 cents. And then these bullets from Great Lakes, these are 200 grain cast lead bullets that were $11 for 100 bullets, making it 11 cents a bullet. So when you add that all together, you come up with 25.5 cents per round, which is very economical for a large round 44 special factory loads here in Las Vegas cost around, for plinking rounds with lead bullets, it's about $28 or $29 for 50, which makes it about 56 to 58 cents a round. So I'm loading this for less than half of the cost of that. And then if you want hollow points or anything fancy, the price only goes up from there. So these plinking rounds are less than half the price. The other rounds that make a lot of sense are 45 Long Colt, 44 Magnum, 444 Marlin. Those are the rounds that I will probably reload the most. And then eventually I'm going to start reloading 38 Special and 357 Magnum, because the big rounds you can definitely do it for cheaper. And even better, if you already have factory rounds and you're shooting them and you collect your brass. I have here some rounds that I loaded. These are 44 Magnum, and I had fired off factory brass and I collected my brass. So I already own this brass, so it cost me nothing in addition. I used 10.5 grains of Unique, and I used a 240 grain round nose lead bullet, and I used a large Magnum primer, which were about 5.5 cents. So 5.5 cents and 5.5 cents, and the bullets were about 12 cents. So you're talking about 23 cents for this round because I already owned the brass. So 44 Magnum here is around $35 to $37 for 50, so around 75 cents. So it definitely made sense to do this. So if you have brass already laying around and you want to reload it, then the economics definitely work in your favor. Even if you're using new brass, the economics still work in your favor as long as you use it 3 to 5 times. And if you get any more uses than that out of it, then you're really saving money. If you choose to use plated hollow point bullets, those generally run around 20 to 25 cents a round depending. So that adds another 12, 13, 14 cents a round. Even with those, and even with using new brass, you're still shaving probably 30 cents a round off 44 Magnum and 45 Long Colt, and at least 20 cents a round off 44 Special. So if you're talking about 9mm, you're talking about 40 caliber, you're talking about 45 ACP, there's a lot of rounds available. The ammo is plentiful. The prices have come way down. So from my perspective as a low volume shooter, those rounds don't make sense to reload. But the 44 Special, the 44 Magnum, the 45 Long Colt, 444 Marlin, those all make sense. And if you're going to load a lot of them, they definitely make sense because the cost of the dies is around $25 to $30 for a set. And you can use those indefinitely. They're carbide steel dies and they don't wear out. So if you amortize $29 over the cost of 10,000 rounds, it's a pittance. So that's my take on reloading, and does it make sense? The conclusion for me is for certain rounds it definitely makes sense. The big rounds, the Magnum rounds. For the semi-auto smaller rounds, right now it doesn't make a lot of sense. If you move up to a Dillon progressive press and you crank out thousands of rounds at a time, then economically it probably makes sense. But here in Las Vegas, I can get those rounds for 9mm, 17, 18 cents a round. 40 caliber, I can get them for 22, 23 cents a round. So I can't beat that, and it's a hell of a lot easier to walk in the store and buy them. So on those rounds, I'm going to say no. On the big rounds, I'm going to say yes. So I hope this was helpful and you enjoyed it. And if you did, then tune in for part 2 when I take these out to the range and we test their power and accuracy and see if I'm getting anywhere near close to the quality of store-bought rounds. So Steve from Vegas Westside Shooters, and as always, thanks for watching.